What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to talk a little bit about self-love and how you can really start to put that into practice more and more so. For one, to raise your vibe, but also to feel better, to experience more harmonious manifestations in your life, because what you're speaking to yourself is really what you're speaking to God, and God always rewards what your faith is. And some, have their faith in evil and separation and being cursed and hell and failing at everything in their life and feeling like a worm that needs to be abased 24/7. And others realize that, hey, that's a pretty satanic suggestion that I'm believing, and I'm going to actively stop speaking that about myself, because we are commanded to love God with all of our heart, mind, and soul, and love others as ourselves. And when it comes to those two commands, it's easy to start getting carried away and, well, I need to do this shit for other people and other people and other people and other people. Yet if you're filling your consciousness with feeling like a worm, feeling ashamed, feeling guilty, feeling like a piece of shit accident, or whatever you're telling yourself that is totally negative, that's totally unfulfilled, that's the shit you're letting go of. That's an example of really buying into a satanic belief and not self-loving. That's not loving yourself. That's destroying yourself. That by believing satanic beliefs and assumptions about you, you are not loving yourself, which in turn is not loving God, because you and God are one in consciousness. And so what you're doing to yourself, you're also doing to God. So anytime that you are really embodying a satanic belief, an egoic kind of consciousness, based on fear, anything related to fear in general, that's the shit we're letting go of. And that's probably one of the most loving things that you can do for yourself, is to switch those narratives of, oh, I'm a piece of shit, oh, God's mad at me, oh, I'm an accident, fill in the blank with these worldly satanic beliefs, and start replacing those with who you are in Christ. What does God say about you? For one, God says you're a masterpiece, and if you don't feel like you're a masterpiece, if you don't really believe that in your soul, that's a big problem, because that's not being in alignment with truth. The things that God puts in our awareness as forms of truth, we should be with our own consciousness aligning to those things more and more so, not because if we don't, God's going to punish us, but because believing the satanic alternative already punishes you, in the sense that belief, that assumption, gets planted into the field of awareness, which is always listening to your thoughts, and you become more and more aware of this field as you become mindful. And by mindful, I just mean getting into the present moment and observing your thoughts. And as you're observing them, you realize that a thought comes and it goes. It comes and it goes, like a movie screen, like you're sitting in a theater watching a movie. Oh, there's a thought. Oh, there's gone. Oh, there's a satanic belief. Then it's gone. Oh, there's a heavenly belief that feels good, and then it's gone. And then you start to realize that, hey, I'm not the thoughts. I'm the observer of these thoughts, and every one of these thoughts has an energy attached to it. Ultimately, there's one energy. So even the fearful ones can be transmuted into healing by, for one, not letting them go unchecked, but by replacing them with the new, which is, part of loving yourself, is to align your beliefs with the love that God has for you, and realize that God already loves you. You are already blessed. And that's the hardest pill for people to swallow, is that it's not in the future that you're going to be blessed after you go through this sanctification process. Then you get to the end, and then finally you have a eureka, you made it moment, and God's finally happy with you. So God's already happy with you. You are already holy. You are already blessed. You are everything that you can imagine is a reality for you, even beyond what you can imagine. The problem is you just don't believe it. You go, no fucking way, I'm not blessed because and you start naming off all these excuses. Well, those excuses is what you are speaking into the field of awareness unconsciously, which then manifests it back to you unconsciously. You don't mean to be doing that. If you did mean to be doing that, then you're a fucking idiot. Because do you really mean to be failing at everything? Do you really mean to be, oh, I have this thing I really want to achieve, this vision that God put into my consciousness for me to do, be, or have. Well, and then I have this satanic block that's pushing it away. It's like, no, it can't be that good. I can't actually be happy in doing what I'm like created to do. I need to suffer and be abased, and like I feel guilty and shameful because of this. It's like you feel guilty and shameful because you believe a satanic thing that's not real, and it's only real to you because you believe it. It's not what you're thinking. So you start letting it go and getting more harmony, getting more alignment with the truth that God has shared with you via the Bible, through Jesus, through any of these spiritual books, not even just the Bible. It's like God created everything in creation, and think that only 60 something books has been inspired by. Everything is inspired by the Spirit. Literally everything. Every piece of music you've ever heard, every poem you've ever read. There's only one musician. There's only one author. There's only one joke teller. I mean, it's like there's only one of those, and it's love. And love casts out fear. So any of your fears and your limitations, your thoughts of, all that bullshit, all of those you can look at as being part of your old sinful nature. And by sinful, I just mean your old failing nature. You fail at it because you don't understand how it's connected in consciousness. You can't have it till you assume it in consciousness already. You can't demonstrate being blessed until you realize that I'm already blessed. There's nothing to do. It's God that does the work, not me. If it was up to me, I would continue to kind of struggle and effort and fail, because that's the pattern. And until you realize that and change your mental conversation to align with the new conversation, the new you, the actual you, it's like the uncursed you, I guess. It's the one God created you to be. And you put it on by your own conscious willpower. Willpower. Maybe, is that the word? Free will, whatever. It's your free will to choose to experience being blessed. You have so much free will that you can actually choose to be cursed if you so choose to be. And, it doesn't mean that you actually are. It's like the sun. It shines whether you believe it does or not. You can close the curtain and then start telling yourself elaborate stories about how the sun is mad at you and not shining anymore because you killed the sun. It's gone. You shut the curtain and it's gone. You destroyed it. And then you should be like the bad man now. You killed the sun. And next thing you know, then you start spiraling with all these stupid mental stories and these narratives about how the sun is gone because you shut the curtain. But the reality is you can't do a fucking thing if God didn't allow you to. You can't breathe on your own. You can't even have a thought, that's your own, really. But it's in the beliefs and assumptions where we believe we can. But the reality is things are always unfolding in a divine way that it never hasn't been. It's in your entire life this has been going on like this. And most of our entire life, in the old identity where like God's out in space and like everything's separate, random chaos, and everything's fearful, and that there's victims that didn't have it coming to them. Nothing's a correspondence of consciousness, all of that kind of shit from the old mind. That's what I used to believe. I used to believe all that shit until I realized that, what was real, and and let go of a lot of those things, because I see how when you change your mental conversation, everything starts to change around you. It's wild, but you start putting it to the test because you're already doing this. And if you aren't, saying loving things to yourself and having expectancies of like, prayers answered, blessings fulfilled, being abundant, that all the promises that God said, whatever you ask for, believe that you received it and it's yours. The law, this is, you put it on in consciousness in the present moment. That's where you believe. That's where your faith is. And either your faith is in I'm cursed and this isn't going to happen, or your faith is in I'm blessed and this is inevitable that it'll happen. It just depends on where you're coming from. And if you believe that God put this vision in you, and then and it's impossible for you to achieve it, then you're sinning. Then you're in a state of missing the mark. And that's all that is, to me. It's like, sin, missing the mark, it's just failing at whatever you're trying to do. If I'm taking this Sharpie and I'm trying to draw a smiley face, and I just draw a fucking distorted thing, and it doesn't even look like a smiley face, then I failed at it. It's like it's the idea that that sin and like that old identity that is not even really real. It's a thought that you are separate from God and separate from other people and separate from these desirings and everything. We were actually talking about shit like that at church today, where it's just like the pastor was talking about holiness. And he had a different take on what holiness even means. To me, it means being whole and complete. So it's like whenever you have a desire, which is showing you something that you're lacking on some level, immediately then bring it to the end where that's already a desired thing, and bring that into wholeness. So for example, it's like, say that you're dieting or like losing weight, or you're trying to get more fit. It's about changing your mindset to align with, well, who do I want to feel? Who do I want to be once this end result happens? Because it's a progression to lose weight. I lost, I think, about 40 pounds now. And like when you first start, it just seems like this big mountain, this big pedestal. But the thing of it is like the more that you start changing the mental stories of like, oh, maybe you feel some hunger or something like that, and instead of like going, oh, woe is me, I'm starving to death, oh, I can't bear this torture, I'm being tormented by this sensation. It's more about changing that story to like, every time I feel this way, I'm losing weight. If I can just feel hungry more than I feel full, I'm in a deficit. Deficit versus like abundant, it's like, it's this balance, this harmony. And so it's like, okay, well, if I spend more time feeling hungry, then it's inevitable I'm losing weight. It's like a calorie deficit, same thing. It's like, it's all in that mental story. But then in that, you can continue to lose the weight. But then when you finally hit the goal, and maybe your goal was just to feel better, or to be more attractive, or to be more healthy, or to whatever your goal is, just losing it isn't going to change your mindset about it. There was a time like in my teenage years, I was like, I think I'm in like 160 right now, like weight wise, but I used to wrestle at like 140, what was it, 145, something like that. And even then, so I was like pretty thin, but even then, like when I look at those old pictures and shit, like I go, wow, I was like thin and like fucking hot, shit like that, but like at the time I didn't think about that way about myself at all. I had so many just insecurities, and like, oh, I didn't have a six pack. I was just like skinny, but not like ripped, it was just like I didn't feel like a certain way. Well, the alternative, is like you start to give yourself self-love by, instead of listening to those harsh criticisms that you're giving to the field of awareness, think about every time you're speaking to yourself, you're speaking to the big self. You're not just speaking to little you. You're speaking in a big loud phone to creation. Hey, this is what I'm being. And because you are a powerful creator created by the infinite intelligence to do this kind of life, your thoughts have power, have powerful consequences. We don't know that, like when we're born into the matrix, we most people have no introspection, because there's a lot of unconsciousness, so it's like it's very animal, behaviors, animal thinking, and you notice that. I notice that big time with chickens. I find them very fascinating in the sense that, you can learn a lot about just this consciousness on some level, watching how these chickens govern themselves through violence on some level, but, through a pecking order. Reminds me a lot of like jail, in the sense that, there's real hard lines and things. One of the things about just culture, that I found like kind of, let's say it's like hard to deal with, but it's like, it seems like there's a lot of people that like to run their mouth and never think they're getting fucking like punched in the face for it. It's like they never have that hard check, you know what I mean? But like in like a jail environment, I mean that's a reality, big time. And it's like you disrespect somebody, but it's not just like super predatory. A lot of it there is still politics and like this mental law, this correspondence. It's like you get a lot of people getting their ass beat for drug debts, just like not understanding where they're at, taking money. Gang shit, just like just a bunch of drama. And like the thing of it is, I watch the chickens. It's the same kind of hierarchical thing where it's like there's like a boundary that gets stepped, and boom, immediately gets checked. Where in like a lot of times in the world, you see these people that just think that they're hot shit. Oh, I'm gonna sue you if you say something that's offensive to me. It's like sue you. It's like you really. Okay, have fun burning money for 2 years, and like, what are you going to get from it? But like, when it comes to like self-love and really changing those mental conversations, it's for one, becoming aware when you're telling yourself some satanic thing that's like, yeah, that's not in alignment with, the fact I'm a fucking masterpiece according to my creator, and so I'm going to spend the present moment feeling more and more so like a masterpiece. And what is a masterpiece really? That somebody who's like a creator, has been a like professional musician for a long time, producer. The idea of a masterpiece has been something I've chased for a long time, and I put a lot of awareness and attention on that's just this concept. And for like people that maybe aren't so like artistic or whatever, it's like, yeah, I can roughly get what a masterpiece means, but for an actual artist, it's more about the consciousness of like the attention to details on everything. It's about like if you're playing guitar, for example, just to be like perfectly on beat on every single note like that. I mean, even if the tempo's fast, being able to have each note match this inner vision. And then as you put the producer hat, then it's like, no, I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to take this mix and match that with an inner vision. And you're getting it to a point where there's not a single thing that hasn't had a conscious thought and a demonstration that is elevating that thing. Whereas like unconscious creating, there isn't the love, there isn't the anything. It's about quantity. How much can I pump out? How much can I do? How much money can I make? How much can I do? Me. That's kind of the alternative. Whereas like a masterpiece is like, how can I bring heaven to anybody that sees this in every single aspect of this sculpture, this music, of this artwork, even if like a home renovation, you can have it through the lens of an artist, because I believe our creator is the artist. It's like as we embody more and more of these divine attributes, when we start to demonstrate more and more levels of love and awareness of love, and in that love God and love others, and it's like when you love God, you're speaking and believing loving things in regards to your relationship with God, which is an internal relationship. It's like you can't give to anybody else without giving it to yourself first. And that's why I think it's very, very important to really become reminded of that, because it's easy to start getting in this false altruism, in the sense that you're feeling like you're obligated to help others or do loving things for other people, not because you actually desire to, but because you feel like you'll be punished if you don't, which is that's not self-loving either. I mean, that might be temporarily something you can do to push through. Sometimes you got to push through shit that feels uncomfortable, and you just got to do it. Even though like maybe your ego or like the satanic belief that you're holding on so fervently to is almost like facing death and letting go of it, in the sense that you're doing the unknown versus the known, where the known and a lot of times is hell and fear and hysteria, but hey, at least it could get worse if you just continue. But the more that you're able to go, hey, wait a second, I'm spending the present moment talking shit to myself, and maybe you had an argument with like your spouse or something, and you're spending the present moment in your own mind, attacking them, grievance thoughts, fuck them, not accepting them, not forgiving them. Well, that shit is what you're doing to yourself, because what you give to another, you're giving to yourself. Ultimately, you are being forgiven every time you forgive other people, whether it feels like that at the moment or not. That's the reality of the situation, and you can test that by actually forgiving people, and then you realize how, oh, that just cleared my mind. I'm not even obsessing about this anymore. All of this is about letting go of the shit in your mind that's like ultimately making you suffer. That's why I get really, I wouldn't say triggered, but it's like it's ultimately fucking retarded to be unconscious, because all you're doing is telling yourself unfulfillment and fear, and you're ultimately unconsciously manifesting hell on earth for yourself, which then perpetuates because there is no death. It's like you don't just boom, all of a sudden all the shit I was thinking is just gone. And maybe some people believe that. Maybe that's true for some people. That's not how I think. Because it's like, everything is a reflection of consciousness now. So, you're just laying these tracks, and you keep walking in these circles over and over again of unfulfillment, failing at everything. It's like if your goal is peace and you're continuously just in chaos and fucking disorder, you're failing, you're sinning, you're not doing it right. There's a different way to do it that is not, I'm just gonna flagellate myself and tell myself what a piece of shit I am, and then experience some more, more confirmation. Yep, people are stupid. Oh, yep, people just don't get me. Yep, it's like all this stuff that it's like, is that what you want? Is if you were in heaven right now, is that what you would be? Is that life like for you in heaven when you're in a relationship with God and God's in control of everything? But here in Middle Earth, you're just going to tell yourself all these satanic beliefs and all these satanic assumptions about why you're not good enough or why you feel guilty and shameful for for whatever reason. I don't know why you feel that way. I think a lot of that's retarded. It's like, that's not loving yourself. That's not loving who God created you to be when you're continuously in states of fear, states of anger, which is not really something that's a negative, in the sense that, anytime you feel anger, you should immediately, get present again and go, okay, I just seen something that feels like separation consciousness. I don't accept this. I don't see how this is part of God's harmony. All of a sudden now I'm in doubt. Now all of a sudden I'm afraid that God's not in control because some fucked up thing just happened. Start filling in the blanks of why you're spiraling. Well, then go, okay. Instead of sitting here in unfulfillment or whatever, sitting in Middle Earth experience again, instead of living in the end, which is heaven, bringing heaven to now, you're blessed right now, this very second, this moment right here, right now, not tomorrow, now. No fucking way, Mike. This because of blah blah blah. Because look at all this over here, and look at my life over here. It's like, yeah, it's a fucking shit show. What do you expect? You've been telling yourself all these satanic things, and then getting that back to you. It's like, that's just not going to change until you change your consciousness. It's about stewarding what is already manifested, not some hypothetical you made it future, where all of that, like, oh, it's a utopia now. All these limiting beliefs are just gone. And people can believe that all they want. I'm not gonna like try to make people triggered by that, but that's just what I believe. I don't believe death has a transforming power, and I believe that we start off dead, and then go from death to life, in the sense that you were going from unconsciously telling yourself all this satanic bullshit to then consciously now speaking to yourself, the big self that's listening to your thoughts. I am a masterpiece, and I'm going to feel like a masterpiece, instead of, I feel like a broken toy, I'm going to feel like a piece of shit. You're doing one of two things in the present moment always. So you're either loving yourself, which is also simultaneously loving God, because where is your consciousness in the equation? When Jesus says love God and love others, what are you supposed to be doing? Nothing? Oh, I'm just some ambivalent whatever, some neutral thing. No one's loving me. It's like, I get shit on all the time. It's like, I don't see people loving me. Even when I'm doing loving things, I get a lot of shit from other people, attacked by, people that are supposedly loving to me. It's like you start getting a bunch of bullshit, and it's like, well, if they're not going to love me, I don't, where's the love for me back? So it's like, it's in that relationship between you and your creator. It's a simultaneous thing. For one, realizing that God is a source for love, and that you're already able to tap into that energy anytime that you desire to by just simply asking, believing, and receiving it right now. The problem is just in the refusal to believe it. That's your resistance. That's just shit you got to let go of. And you start letting that go by, for one, forgiving yourself. Stop being so harsh on yourself. Start telling yourself a new story that's not on fear and hysteria and feeling like a piece of shit. But, it's like, hey, yeah, I was tricked. Big fucking deal. We all were tricked. Hello, guilty. I got tricked. I used to think that the world was real and things were exactly like they said on TV. Well, eventually you realize through suffering and through just this inner intuition that, that's clown world shit. That's actually upside down and backwards. So instead of continuously to double down on it, I'm going to choose to try to manifest more heaven on earth right now for myself and others. And I'm going to start that by, if fear only exists in my mind, and because of that, I feel all these energies of constriction, of tightness. Oh, and then unconsciously, then it plants into the field of awareness, which then confronts me, which I don't want. The undesirable. No, hell is confronting me again. Yay. Well, instead of that, you can start to go, okay, well, because of my thinking, this shit is corresponding. Then it's really dumb to continue to think like this because I don't desire to experience it. That's simple, because it's not even true. It's not even how things are. How things are is connected. And once you realize it's connected, then it's like, oh, I can start to experience more and more of that by loving myself. God will then externalize that in forms of relationships, life experiences, all these different things that are brought to you in the present moment. God is the one bringing these things to you. It's happening to you. It's being done to you. And so either it's being done to you in like what you don't want and constantly failing all the time. It's like, oh, my goal was to lose weight. Now I'm 50 pounds heavier. It's like, well, then you fucking failed at it. What you did didn't work. Let me tell you a thing that does work. Try it, do it, you'll see that it works. So it's like, moving from this consciousness of being a constant failure, constantly in unfulfillment, constantly in desire, which is just constantly lack. Oh, I'm desiring more money. I'm desiring more love. I'm desiring more this. I'm desiring. Well, you can look at that exactly like, oh, I'm lacking, planting lack into the field of awareness, the field observing and listening and responding to your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. Most importantly, your relationship with God, which is all things. There's only oneness. There's only God mind, I guess, if you want to label it. It's only dream. It's only this, manifesting in different phases and different forms, but it's all consciousness being externalized. Well, are you going to keep externalizing what you don't want to be experiencing? Because it's unselective. And not a respecter of persons. Just like the Bible says, it's like electricity on some level. You turn a switch and it just works. You plant these seeds of fear and hysteria and separation and hell. Okay, there you go. Reap and sow. Or you can, plant who you are in Christ. Reap and sow the same thing. Reap and sow heaven. Reap and sow hell. Reap and sow failure. Reap and sow success. Unselectively, it doesn't matter. You have the free will to choose, but it's done unto you. So either way, it's going to be done unto you consciously or done unto you unconsciously. You get to pick. And it's that simple, so it's like, and the thing about like fear and hysteria, this is kind of a little sidetrack, is that when you really become mindful, when you're really faced with like something happening in your life that's like really triggering, really fearful, and there's a difference between like chronic fear, anxiety, dumb bullshit versus I'm out in the woods and a bear just popped out. Two different things. What I'm talking about is the habituated patterns of thinking that stay with us throughout the day. That inner conversation, which a lot of times, if people aren't mindful of that, it's almost like people are sleepwalking in the sense that they're just, oh, I had an errant thought, and then they drift into past, future thoughts, thinking, assumptions, perceptions that's totally void of the present moment. It has nothing to do with what's going on right here and right now. It's like, well, you just said something that triggered me from 5 years ago, and now I'm living in that energy again. And now, instead of forgiving you like I should have done 5 years ago, we're going to just relive this over and over again in like a Groundhog Day of suffering and bullshit. And like I said, if you want to do that, have fun doing that. Yeah, I hear lots of people, that love their suffering and just want to justify it all the time and keep it alive and find some noble bullshit from it or whatever. Go for it. Do it. Find it for yourself that it's retarded and stupid, and it only exists for you to realize that you're doing something in error. Once you realize what you're doing is in error and it's leading to unfulfillment, then what is your goal? Is your goal to fail at everything? Is it to be unhappy? To be an energy sucking thing? Not only for yourself but for others, which then and really the others are only mirroring your own bullshit going on within you. So if you're spending the present moment cursing yourself, doesn't matter, then people will come to you cursing you back. But when you consciously start loving yourself more and more so by being your own friend, in the sense that, hey, the only relationship you are ever going to have is this inner conversation, and you can start to spin that more and more, and okay, instead of telling myself totally undesirable thing, yeah, guess what? That exists in the quantum realm of everything infinite possible exists. It already exists. If you can think about it, imagine it exists. But are you going to look at the bottomless pit of bullshit? Or are you going to look at the topless top of expanding love and possibilities and nothing being impossible for God to do, be, or have, And because of that relationship and that right understanding, you can have anything you choose to be, do, and have by first incorporating it in the present moment, but prior to starting to love yourself more and more so. Because as you do, what you give, you get. So what you give to yourself, you get. Very important to grasp that metaphysical principle, because if you don't, you'll continue to circle jerk and miss the mark. Because what you give to another, if you give curses, if you give criticism, if you give anger, if you give jealousy, if you give this, all of that is shit you are going to deal with. It'll come back to you like a boomerang, pressed down and multiplied. And so it's like, do you want to do it with a curse, or do you want to do it with being blessed? Very simple. It's like, I get to the point sometimes in doing these, like, do I need to continuously do these streams? Because it's really back to the same thing over and over again in the present moment. Oh, was I cursing myself with some satanic belief? If I was, follow the advice of Jesus. Repent, which is a radical change of mind and attitude. Go from that failure mentality to embodying the person that is going to attract these blessings. It's like, if you are going to be, the embodiment of heaven on earth, who are you going to be to demonstrate that to others? You can say that you want to see heaven on earth all you want, but if you're acting like a demonic fucking retard, then you're failing. That's not embodying heaven on earth. That's embodying hell on earth. And that's just the default mode for most people in the world that are unconsciously living in this unfulfillment, this failure mentality, never actually doing anything, just being a total slave to fear 24/7, doubling down, getting worse and worse until eventual decay and destruction is what it is. But the more that you become aware of it, the more you can go, oh, I was cursing myself. I want to love myself instead, and in doing so, I am following the commands of Jesus. I am loving God. I am loving others. Because until you really feel the love within you, you ain't going to do shit for other people without being having issues. But with that being said, I think I'm balanced. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this helps get you in a momentum change to start loving yourself, start getting more and more kindness towards yourself, because we can be such a cruel asshole to ourselves. I do it, it's like, but sometimes I can be pretty hard on myself in the sense, like, real drill instructor almost, like, get up, you fucking pussy, do one more, do one more, do one more. And I think a lot of that has to do with my hip issues that I dealt with for 20 years, which have now really starting to resolve nicely. My left leg is, the hip replacement in November. I've been doing physical therapy every day, stretching, riding bike, walking, physically working, all these different things. And it feels so good to have a hip that works, after having one that was so fucked up for so long. But a lot of that, waiting had to do with like, okay, pushing through a lot of like limitations. It's like, oh, I'd be working all day, and by the second hour, my fucking leg was just like in a ton of pain. It was really loud and really intense to deal with. But then there was the inner conversation of like, keep going. Your body does not tell you what to do. You tell your body what to do. Fuck it. You can push through this. And even that kind of self-talk, you start seeing that momentum shift, and it's like, yeah, I manifested. I was able to do it. Now, realizing the actual how this correspondence works, it becomes easier and easier to be like, why would I be talking to myself like this? I wouldn't be talking to my best friend like this. I wouldn't be talking to Jesus, incarnate, if Yeshua was in front of me and we were just talking about whatever, I wouldn't be like, calling him names and just being like, what are you doing, you bitch? And this, and it's like, then why would I be doing that to myself? I would expect like Jesus on some level to be nicer to me, not just like calling me out. But on the other end of that, it's like my relationship with Jesus is a very strong one, in the sense that it is very like, bro, you got 5 more reps in you. You're not weak. You're not this, and so that's like kind of like my experience, where it's just like, there is a lot of that kind of like, you can do it. I know you feel like you can't, but you can, that kind of thing. But, with that, you start looking at the inner conversation throughout the day. And it's a progression, it's like, okay, if you did it for 5 minutes today and no minutes yesterday and the time preceding, congrats, you stopped failing for 5 minutes. Can you do again 5 minutes tomorrow? Can you do 5 more minutes now? It's like, what are you doing now? Or did you do it, and now all of a sudden, back to satanic suggestions and failure and limitations, and I should feel guilty and shameful. I should be tormenting myself and suffering. Oh, or are we going to, hey, there's another opportunity to stop doing that. And it's like, I just caught it again. I got 5 more minutes. I got 1 more minute. I got 10 seconds. It doesn't matter. It's like, if it's better than it did yesterday, you're moving the momentum in a better direction. The following day, we're only just mastering the day over and over and over again. Let's get this future shit out of your head. How are you spending the present moment? Are you in flow? Are you in harmony? Are you loving yourself? Are you loving God? Are you loving creation? Are you loving your fellow created beings? Where's your head out? How are you doing? Well, as the thing goes on, and not to say, oh, look at this person on a pedestal, they're so superior. It's a race against you. You are racing yourself, and you got to live with your own consciousness. So it's like, how well you're doing is how well you can sit with yourself and feel at peace, at harmony. It's like, all these kinds of things. It's a progression. You get better and better the more that you practice being mindful, by assumption, by assuming that you are already blessed, that God is helping you right here, right now, in this moment, is healing you right here, right now, in this moment, is lining things up right here, right now to enhance your life, to let go of the limiting satanic beliefs, to feel and embody in every moment of right now the masterpiece that you are created to be. And it's not hypothetical intellectual knowledge, it's feeling, it's embodiment knowledge. It's like, do you feel like a masterpiece and believe that you are one in the making? That every moment you're becoming more and more into this vision of this ideal higher divine thing that you actually are. How well are you able to demonstrate that into form? Because you're already demonstrating the shit into form. You're either doing it consciously or unconsciously. Again, it's not a new thing. It's realizing, oh shit, I've already been doing this, and I've been doing it very shitty, and I can make the change. But break free of the instant manifestation. It's a delayed mirror, in the sense that the seed you plant today in the present moment, even though time is an illusion, there's a series of events needed to happen to get your consciousness to align to that new concept of self. It's like, before you can really embody, for example, I know that God provides. Not even a belief. Water's wet, water puts out fire, God provides. I just know it, just like I know I'm going to wake up tomorrow and the sun's going to be up there in the sky. But to really do that, you have to take the action, which erases the doubt, which then you start to see it in as a tangible real life reality, because your life is already a reality of consciousness. And so hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that gives you something to start to practice, to do, to put on right here, right now, to actually start to raise your vibe, to demonstrate higher levels of harmony, peace, joy, and not spend the present moment suffering, feeling like a piece of shit, which you're not, and really putting on, you are a masterpiece. Feel like a masterpiece, because that's what you are. That's what God says you are. The hairs on your head are numbered. Oh, Mike, I'm bald. And it's like, well, the hairs on your body then. Nitpicker. But with that being said, I think I'm about. So, appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, all social networking things. I appreciate your spiritual support and your physical support. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I appreciate the kind messages that come with a lot of those donations and everything. I appreciate it. And until the next now, God bless.